Superman is finally out in theaters and I went to go see it, so let's talk about it. But before we get into today's video, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on push notifications to see more of my videos, but let's get into today's review. It's been over a decade since we've gotten a solo Superman movie, so getting this is very, very exciting. It's written and directed by James Gunn, who famously directed all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He directed the Suicide Squad. I mean, this dude is just absolutely incredible. So does the new Superman movie live up to the hype? I liked it. Guys, I liked the movie. I think the movie was very fun, but it didn't wow me as much as I'd expect a Superman movie would. Now, that isn't to say that the movie's not good. The movie is good, and I did have a good time watching it, but there wasn't a lot of scenes happening in the movie that really just had me on the edge of my seat. It was kind of like, okay, like, this is cool, but I feel like they could have gone the next step. There was one scene in the movie that I really liked, and it was at the very beginning where Superman is flying, and it's the first POV shot that we get to see of him flying. And although the CGI throughout the movie is a little bit splotchy in some parts, most of the movie, 95% of the movie really does look good, but even in that scene that I really did like, it looked a little bit splotchy, but it was super cool, super unique for Superman, and I think that James Gunn definitely had a vision when it came to crafting his own original story with Superman. Getting the other stuff out of the way that I didn't particularly enjoy, I didn't really like the Justice Gang's inclusion, like Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific. I just didn't really like their inclusion. I think Mr. Terrific definitely had more of a reason to be in this movie, so if he'd have been the only character to be in this movie as a side character, then I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But I didn't really like Guy Gardner. I didn't really like Hawk Girl that much in the movie. I think they kind of felt just a little bit thrown in there to be thrown in there. Someone mentioned that it kind of felt like Black Adam, in the sense that Black Adam also had a lot of side superhero characters that felt really underdeveloped and just kind of convoluted and distracting. And although Superman is a far better movie, I mean, Black Adam is not a good movie, this is a good movie, I definitely still did feel that convoluted nature when it came to all of the comic book characters that showed up in this movie. I would have much rather preferred a story that just had Superman with Lois Lane, and I feel that the parts with Superman and Lois Lane are great, but I really wish that was just the part that they focused primarily on, because there are a lot of characters in this movie. Which brings me to my next thing, which is the script. The script is good, but there is a lot happening that kind of cut corners. One in particular that happens near the beginning of the movie is when the villains somehow, it's in the trailer so I can say it, but they somehow just come across Krypton and his home, and they can just be let in like that. I mean, they have these super high-tech bots, the Superman bots, and they can just open up this door freely without the Superman bots like being able to see it for coming. That was kind of just like, okay, really, you guys deserve to be destroyed like that. That to me felt like they were cutting corners to just progress the movie, which I didn't particularly enjoy, and that was very distracting. But I think my biggest complaint, and I guess it's not really a complaint, because I really do think that Superman fans are going to love this. I love Superman. I mean, I love Superman as that, Superman is one of the greatest superheroes of all time. I like Superman, but I'm definitely not someone that's like, Superman is like my favorite superhero of all time. I grew up on Superman. Like, I love the old Superman movies, but I was never attached to them like some people are. And I think the people that are attached to Superman like that will appreciate this movie a lot more than I did, will love this movie a lot more than I did. I still really liked it. I still had a really good time with it, and I think that it does kick off, or I guess I don't know if it kicks off the new DC universe. I think that was Blue Beetle, but I think we can kind of ignore that movie. I think this movie does a fantastic job jump-starting this new world, and I think that it gets me excited for the future. But just like I said, I think the biggest Superman fans are going to love this movie. I think that dads are going to love this movie because, I mean, all dads love Superman. All dads grew up on the original Superman cartoons, the live-action Superman movies. I mean, if your dad will love this movie. This is definitely a dad movie, and I can respect that. Another thing that people have been saying is that this movie feels like it's just a morning Superman cartoon turned live action. And that makes a lot of sense once you see this movie. This is definitely one of the most superhero looking movies that we've ever gotten. And I mean that in the sense that, like, it doesn't feel like it's a live action version of the comic books. It feels like it's, I don't know how to really explain this. It feels like it's just right off a comic book page, but it happens to be live action. Does that make sense? I know it's technically a live action version of the comic book stories, but it just feels different than, let's say, Marvel movies that really, like, will add a grittier nature to it or something like that. This movie does feel very authentic to the comic books, and that I very much respect. The comedy didn't land well with me. I think the movie's fine in the comedic aspect. I think a lot of people will find this movie to be charming and funny, but to me, the scenes that were meant to be funny, they weren't cringe. I just did not find myself laughing. I don't know if I was going into this movie expecting to laugh a lot. I think I was expecting to go into this movie with a little bit more emotion, and I didn't leave the theater like emotionally impacted as well. So I think this movie really was just trying to be a cool movie rather than having to have something that will make you cry or make you burst out loud laughing. I just think that this is a superhero movie that does one thing: has a superhero, has a villain, a very well-known villain, and just goes throughout the story of trying to take this villain down, just like how most superhero movies go. Speaking of, David Corenswet as Superman is fantastic. Really a unique take on Superman. He doesn't feel like any other live action version or any version of Superman that we've ever seen. He really does feel like his own authentic self. Same with Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I think he does a fantastic job playing a very just ignorant, arrogant, asshole villain. And he does a really good job doing that. And if y'all have seen The Menu, you know that Nicholas Hoult plays a really good douchebag. And he does a really good job in this movie. I honestly think that he gives more of the standout performance than David Corenswet. That might be a controversial opinion, but I think Nicholas Hoult did a fantastic job as Lex Luthor, and I hope that we get to see him more in the future of the new DC universe. James Gunn is amazing. He's fantastic, and I really do think this movie's good. I think all of his other projects just a bit more, and I don't know if that's because Superman feels so different, and that might be is what's distracting me, and I'm not comparing them to the other movies. I just personally enjoyed the other ones more. I think Superman, this version of Superman really took a different direction in its storytelling, and I can really appreciate that. Even though it wasn't fully for me, I definitely know that this movie is going to just completely change people's lives. Because this is leagues better than most of these superhero comic book movies that we've been getting recently. And that's all due to James Gunn. And, you know, this does have a stellar cast. Everyone does a really good job. But I really do think that we have to thank James Gunn. James Gunn is a brilliant mind. He really knows how to adapt characters, comic book characters, into a more modern take on the world and more of this modern society. And something that he recently came out saying that this movie is kind of like it's an immigrant story, and you see that a lot in this movie. And I think so much to the point where it kind of feels like, instead of it being a little bit ambiguous to that idea, by the end of the movie, it feels almost on the nose as to what this movie's trying to be. And I say that in the fact that I don't really like it when movies do that in general with the messages that they're trying to kind of get out to the world. I think it's better if you just leave it as a part of the story, but not the main focus. And I think that they focused way too much on it, which was kind of distracting, but I think it's definitely an important thing that the movie decided to do. So I appreciate and respect that. But at the end of the day, this movie is good. I had a good time with it. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't anything truly spectacular to me personally. I do think that a lot of people are going to love this movie. It might even become some people's favorite superhero movies of all time. But it just wasn't that for me. I was just your average viewer for this movie. It was, I liked it. I liked the visuals. The costumes were good. I think I was starting to see more of what people were talking about with the Superman costume kind of looking like kind of looking like a Halloween costume, but also kind of baggy. But I like it. I think it gives it that nice pop of color, and it really contrasts well with everything else in this movie. So I like the suit, and I like most of the suits in this movie. One thing I did think about is, and someone said this a while ago about when the live action Avatar, The Last Airbender came out, and that was that why do characters' costumes always have to look pristine? Because in what world are you always going to have the most pristine looking outfit? And yes, these are superheroes. They might have magic to just completely heal their outfit. And I know it's just a movie, but that was something that I thought about when the Justice Gang came up on screen. I was like, why do their outfits look so pristine? I know that it needs to contrast well with the rest of the movie, and the movie just has to look as perfect as possible, but can one time a suit just look mangled and not as new as like it just came out of the packaging? Could we do that a little bit, please? That's just a little bit of a nitpick. I think a lot of people might disagree with that, but that is definitely something that I've been looking at more in movies, is the fact that costumes just look so perfect. I mean, especially when their job is to get destroyed. Their costumes always look perfect whenever they show up on screen. But that's just my last nitpick. Not a big thing, just something that I noticed. But like I said, like the movie, a lot of people are going to have a really good time with this. I had a fine time with it. I think it's a very good, okay superhero movie, and people are going to love it, and that makes me happy. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. But that does bring you to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. I appreciate every single one of you. But remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.